An insane resolution is being put forth by the United States to be voted on in the UN later today with regards to what will happen in Gaza, and also, it's crazy to even hear these words coming out of my mouth, but the prospects of a Palestinian state. While the exact content of the resolution is not yet known as it is still in draft form, a press release from the United States mission to the UN on November 13th gives us the main idea for the resolution. It says this: "The week of November 3rd, we began good faith negotiations on this draft in New York, working closely with members of the Security Council and our partners to reach consensus on a draft that would stand up the International Stabilization Force and begin a stable, secure, peaceful, and prosperous future for Palestinians in Gaza, free of Hamas. This effort built on President Trump's widely accepted historic 20-point peace plan endorsed by parties at Sharm el-Sheikh. We urge the Security Council to seize this historic moment to pave a path towards enduring peace in the Middle East by supporting this resolution." There was another joint statement released on November 14th, which included the United States, which said this: "We are issuing this statement as the member states that gathered during High-Level Week to begin this process, which offers a pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood. We emphasize that this is a sincere effort and the plan provides a viable path towards peace and stability, not only between Israelis and Palestinians, but for the entire region." Another clause in this draft resolution reads like this: "After the PA, the Palestinian Authority reform program, is faithfully carried out and Gaza redevelopment has advanced, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood. The United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence." So all that is to say, the main 3 points of this proposal that the US is putting forth to the UN is basically this. Number one, a transitional international stabilization force and/or a temporary governance structure in the Gaza Strip. Number two, a pathway toward Palestinian statehood conditional upon reforms and disarmament. Number three, dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to establish a political horizon where both states peacefully coexist. I'm sorry, but what the US is proposing here is Albert Einstein's exact definition of insanity. For decades, there's been this Middle East conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. One side wants to wipe the other side off the face of the earth, and that other side desperately wants to make peace with the first side, but doesn't want to lose their entire existence in the process. Every world leader and American president has tried to solve this problem. Some of them by giving in to the murderers' demands, others by saying that the murderers must reform before they can get what they want. But the one thing I think that every single one of them have missed is that the Palestinians' end goal is not to have a state of their own, but to erase Israel off the map. One would think that the Trump administration would actually realize the core truth of this conflict and actually try something new for a change. But instead, here we are, making the exact same repeat of every old mistake. We'll be right back with the rest of the show in just 1 second, but first, we have an epic new film dropping on November 23rd that tells the story of Israel's Operation Rising Lion and America's insane strike on Iran's nuclear ambition. Watch this trailer.
Iran's total commitment to the annihilation of Israel and America knew no logical bounds. A fervent, religious, holy war, a campaign to destroy the state of Israel and the United States of America, wiping both countries from off the map. For years, Tehran had pushed the limits, enriching uranium in defiance of the entire free world. A network of terrorist proxies stretching across the Middle East, a ring of fire surrounding the Jewish state. The largest missile attack in Israel's history had begun. The people of Israel have returned to their land just as the prophets foretold. Jerusalem has been rebuilt, the Hebrew language has been revived, and the Jewish people have flourished despite facing the greatest persecution in human history.
Dropping on November 23rd, this is a film you definitely don't want to miss. Stay tuned right here on the Israel Guys channel. The good thing about all of this is that Israel doesn't seem to want to try the Palestinian State thing yet again. After much public pushback to the moves by the United States and the UN this weekend, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirmed his opposition to establishing a Palestinian state west of the Jordan River. He said, quote, "Our opposition to a Palestinian state on any part of this territory has not changed in the slightest." Also, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said yesterday that creating a Palestinian state would be creating a Hamas terror state. Now, this is exactly right. And to illustrate this point, Israel is not the only side here rejecting the United States UN resolution. Hamas also came out yesterday condemning this move by President Trump. In an interview on Al Jazeera yesterday, Hamas spokesperson Hazem Qassem said this, and I quote, "The amendments, additions, and clauses included in this resolution do not serve the goal of continuity and stability in the Gaza Strip because they grant guardianship to non-Palestinian entities over the Palestinian reality, whether at the level of governance, security, or through interference in internal Palestinian affairs without waiting for any internal Palestinian arrangement. We want a Security Council resolution that protects our people's right to self-determination, that defends their right to establish a state, and that prevents a war in Gaza and the continued Israeli aggression against our people in the West Bank, Gaza, and Jerusalem. There should have been a clear formulation stating that the role of the international force in Gaza is to act as a buffer between the occupation and the besieged civilians," end quote. Now, what I have to say is to Hamas is maybe if you don't want war in Gaza, maybe you shouldn't start a war with Israel. Guys, we also have some good news from Israel today. Israel has just received its first rain of the year this weekend. Now, this is an absolute answer to prayer in the nation of Israel, as normally rains come in mid-October, and with no rain in the last month, farmers across Israel have been struggling. Now, while most of the country was rejoicing over the much needed rain, the folks in Gaza didn't fare so well. Videos have been flooding, no pun intended, social media of Gazan homes / tents structures being flooded with water due to the rain. And one might wonder why Gaza is flooding so badly. Now, in addition to much of Gaza's infrastructure being destroyed from the last 2-year war that Gaza started with Israel, even before this war started, Hamas proudly filmed themselves pulling up water pipes and drainage pipes from Gaza's streets to turn them into rockets to fire at Israeli civilians. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely call that some very bad karma right there. Also, something that I don't think is a coincidence is that since October 7th, Hamas has been calling their war against Israel the Al-Aqsa Flood. Sorry, but you kind of asked for that. You would think that these Gazans would now be regretting their attack / massacre of Israelis on October 7th, now that much of this strip is living in tents and most of those tents are now underwater from the flooded rains. But no, the Gazans still continue to blame Israel for everything they are going through. Even though now there's a ceasefire in effect and Israel is allowing massive amounts of aid into the strip, Gazans are still blaming Israel, and the world is still blaming Israel. Speaking of rain, even though Israel is now being blessed with a lot of rain across the country, Iran is still in an extremely serious drought. This almost exactly fulfills the prophecy in Zechariah 14:17 that says, "And any of those families of the earth who do not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, there will be no rain on them." Iran, unfortunately, has chosen the exact opposite of worshiping the Lord in Jerusalem in coming directly against his land, his people, and now they are paying for it. Don't forget about our epic film on Iran dropping on November 23rd right here on the Israel Guys channel. That's it for today. As always, thanks for watching.